Canto 1, Chapter 7. The son of Drona punished. Text 28. O Arjuna, only another Brahmastra can counteract this weapon. Since you are expert in military science, subdue this weapon's glare with your own weapon. Purport. For the atomic bombs, there is no counter-weapon to neutralize the effects, but by subtle science, the action of a Brahmastra can be counteracted, and those who were expert in military science in those days could counteract the Brahmastra. The son of Dronacharya did not know the art of counteracting the weapon, and therefore Arjuna was asked to counteract it by the power of his own weapon. Text 29. Sri Sutta Goswami said, hearing this from the personality of Godhead, Arjuna touched water for purification, and, after circumambulating Lord Sri Krishna, he cast his Brahmastra weapon to counteract the other one. Text 30. When the rays of the two Brahmastras combined, a great circle of fire, like the disk of the sun, covered all outer space and the whole firmament of planets. Purport. The heat created by the flash of a Brahmastra resembles the fire in the sun globe, which is exhibited at the time of cosmic annihilation. The radiation of atomic energy is very insignificant in comparison to the heat produced by a Brahmastra. The atomic bomb explosion can at utmost blow up one globe, but the heat produced by the Brahmastra can destroy the whole cosmic situation. The comparison is, therefore, made to the heat at the time of annihilation. Text 31. All the population of the three worlds was scorched by the combined heat of the weapons. Everyone was reminded of the Sambhantaka fire, which takes place at the time of annihilation. Purport. The three worlds are upper, lower, and the intermediate planets of the universe. Although the Brahmastra was released on this earth, the heat produced by the combination of both weapons covered all the universe, and all the populations on all the different planets began to feel the heat excessively and compared it with heat of the Sambhantaka fire. No planet is, therefore, without living beings, as less intelligent materialistic men think. Text 32. Thus seeing the disturbance of the general populace and the imminent destruction of the planets, Arjuna at once retracted both Brahmastra weapons as Lord Krishna desired. Purport. The theory that the modern atomic bomb explosions can annihilate the world is childish imagination. First of all, the atomic energy is not powerful enough to destroy the world, and secondly, ultimately it all rests on the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, because without his will or sanction, nothing can be built up or destroyed. It is foolish also to think that natural laws are ultimately powerful. Material nature's laws work under the direction of the Lord, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says there that natural laws work under his supervision. The world can be destroyed only by the will of the Lord, and not by the whims of tiny politicians. Lord Sri Krishna desired that the weapons released by both Droni and Arjuna be withdrawn, and it was carried out by Arjuna at once. Similarly, there are many agents of the all-powerful Lord, and by his will only can one execute what he desires. Text 33. Arjuna's eyes blazing in anger like two red balls of copper, dexterously arrested the son of Gautami, bound him with ropes like an animal. Purport. Asvatthama's mother, Kripi, was born in the family of Gautama. The significant point in this sloka is that Asvatthama was caught and bound up with ropes like an animal. According to Sridhar Swami, Arjuna was bound to catch the son of a Brahmin like an animal as part of his duty, dharma. This suggestion by Sridhar Swami is also confirmed in later statement of Sri Krishna. Asvatthama was a bona fide son of Dronacharya and Kripi, but because he had degraded himself to a lower status of life, it was proper to treat him as an animal and not as a Brahmin. Text 34. After binding Asvatthama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to angry Arjuna. Purport. Both Arjuna and Lord Krishna are described here in an angry mood, but Arjuna's eyes were like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of the Lord are like the lotus. This means that the angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord is transcendence, and thus he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not like the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of qualitative material nature. Because he is absolute, both his anger and pleasure are the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even if he is angry, the object of anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances. Text 35. Lord Sri Krishna said, O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahmin, Brahmabandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep. Purport. The word Brahmabandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in the family of a Brahmin, but is not qualified to be called a Brahmin, is addressed as the relative of a Brahmin, and not as a Brahmin. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm in addressing a high court judge's son as a relative of the honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmin simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmin. As the high court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of Brahmin is attainable by qualification only. The Shastras enjoin that even if good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family other than a Brahmin, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmin. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmin is void of Brahminical qualifications, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmin, or, in better terms, a relative of a Brahmin. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following slokas. Text 36. A person who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. Purport. An enemy who does not resist is never killed by a warrior who knows the principles of religion. Formerly, battles were fought on the principles of religion, and not for the sake of sense gratification. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of selfish political leaders, but it was carried out on religious principles, free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called nonviolence. Text 37. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being. Otherwise, he will go down by his own actions. Purport. A life for a life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a life sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murderer is condemned to a life sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in his next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a life sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him, and it is said in the Smriti Shastra that men who are punished by the king on the principles of a life for a life are purified of all their sins, so much so that they may be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer, because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by all the party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. He who gives permission, he who kills the animal, he who sells the slaughtered animal, he who cooks the animal, he who administers distribution of the foodstuff, and at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there to restrict the opening of slaughterhouses and not to encourage animal killing. The process under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good, both for the animal sacrificed and the animal eaters. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrificed animal is at once promoted to a human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar. And the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sins, eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country, and to the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties, and by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. Text 38. Furthermore, I have personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. Text 39. This man is an assassin and murderer of your family members. Not only that, he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately. Purport. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. The good name of Dronacharya is very much respected. Although he joined the enemy camp, he was still held always in respect, for the Pandavas and Arjuna saluted him before beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that way, but the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which were never done by the Dvijas or the twice-born higher castes. Asvatthama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfied his master Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous act of killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that Asvatthama became an assaulter of Arjuna's own family members, and thus he was liable to be punished by him. In the Shastras, he who attacks without notice, or kills from behind, or sets fire to another's house, or kidnaps one's wife, is condemned to death. These facts are reminded by Krishna to Arjuna so that he might take notice of them and do the needful. Text 40. Sutta Goswami said, despite being instructed in his duty and encouraged to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although he was a heinous murderer of his family members. Purport. Arjuna was a great soul, undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged herein personally by the Lord to kill the son of Drona. But Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Dronacharya, even though he is an unworthy son. He had done all sorts of heinous acts whimsically for no one's benefit. Lord Sri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty, but Lord Sri Krishna put to test many of his pure devotees just to magnify the sense of duty. The gopis were put to such tests as well. Maharaj Parikshit also was put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective tests by the Lord. Text 41. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. Purport. The transcendental relation of Arjuna with Krishna is of the dearmost friendship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has claimed Arjuna as his dearmost friend. Every living being is thus related with the Supreme Lord by some sort of affectionate relation either as servant, or as friend, or as parent, or as an object of conjugal love. Everyone can thus enjoy the company of the Lord in the spiritual realm, if one at all desires and sincerely tries for it by the process of bhakti yoga. Text 42. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Asvatthama, who was bound with ropes like an animal, and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature, and due to her being naturally good and well-behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmin. Asvatthama was condemned by the Lord himself, and he was treated by Arjuna just like a culprit, not like the son of a Brahmin or teacher. But when he was brought before Srimati Draupadi, she, although begrieved for the murder of her sons, and although the murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmin or to the son of a Brahmin. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. The woman as a class is no better than a boy, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like a man. Asvatthama proved himself to be an unworthy son of Dronacharya or of a Brahmin, and for this reason he was condemned by the greatest authority, Lord Sri Krishna. And yet a mild woman could not withdraw her natural courtesy for a Brahmin. Even to date, in a Hindu family, a woman shows proper respect to the Brahmin caste, however fallen and heinous a Brahmabandhu may be. But the men have begun to protest against such Brahmabandhus who are born in families of good Brahmins, but by action are less than Sudras. The specific word used in this sloka is Vama Swabhava, mild and gentle by nature. A good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. But anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. One must have a good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. We should not follow the mild nature of a woman and thereby accept that which is not genuine. Asvatthama may be respected by a good-natured woman, but that does not mean that he is as good as a genuine Brahmin. Text 43. She could not tolerate Asvatthama's being bound by ropes, and being a devoted lady, she said, Release him, for he is a Brahmin, our spiritual master. Purport. As soon as Asvatthama was brought before Draupadi, she thought it intolerable that a Brahmin should be arrested like a culprit and brought before her in that condition, especially when the Brahmin happened to be a teacher's son. Arjuna arrested Asvatthama, knowing perfectly well that he was the son of Dronacharya. Krishna also knew him to be so. But both of them condemned the murderer without consideration of his being the son of a Brahmin. According to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. A guru is called also an acharya, or a person who has personally assimilated all the essence of Shastras and has helped his disciples to adopt the ways. Asvatthama failed to discharge the duties of a Brahmin or teacher, and therefore he was liable to be rejected from the exalted position of a Brahmin. On this consideration, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna were right in condemning Asvatthama. But to a good lady like Draupadi, the matter was considered not from the angle of Shastric vision, but as a matter of custom. By custom, Asvatthama was offered the same respect as was offered to his father. It was so because generally the people accept the son of a Brahmin as a real Brahmin, by sentiment only. Factually, the matter is different. A Brahmin is accepted on the merit of qualification, and not on the merit of simply being the son of a Brahmin. But in spite of all this, Draupadi desired that Asvatthama be at once released, and it was all the same a good sentiment for her. This means that a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally, but still such devotees are never unkind to others, even to the enemy. These are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord.